How's it going, everybody? Whoa, it's been a while since I did a YouTube video. This is crazy. Alright. Opening day today. Opening day tier list. I'm kind of feeling the YouTube videos right now. Kind of want to put some more out. So let's get right into it, We got our tier list, 6 tiers. S tier, World Series contenders. A tier, division winners. B tier, wildcard contenders. C, D, and teams in the F tier, the tanking teams. You know how it works. It's a tier list. Alright, let's just get into it. Let's talk some baseball. Alright, we're going by division. We're starting in the AL East. The Tampa Bay Rays. I'm putting an A tier. I'm a believer in the Rays. I like the Rays a lot. It's a cool lineup construction. They don't have one superstar. They don't have that one guy, really. They have Austin Meadows, who's out with COVID right now. I don't know if he's going to be ready for opening day. But I like the way the lineup is constructed. Again, it's deep top to bottom. You have guys like Willy Adames at the bottom of the order who they'll get the job done at the plate. Guys like him, Manny Margot. They traded for Hunter Renfroe this offseason. Hunter Renfroe, I like to pick up a lot. High upside player. And not really super low downside either, considering he is a gold glove caliber corner outfielder. So even if he's not producing at the plate, he is still getting you that value with the glove. They lose Tommy Pham, who's maybe their best position player last season. But I do like the lineup construction. But the real upside of this team, and the reason I'm putting them in A tier, is the top 3 of their rotation is absolutely busted, right? You got Charlie Morton, you've got Blake Snell, you've got Tyler Glasnow. Top 3 in that rotation is absolutely stacked. Then at the bottom of the rotation, you have guys like Yonny Chirinos, Ryan Yarbrough, Trevor Richards. They'll fill out that rotation. I think top to bottom it is one of the best rotations in baseball, and you combine that with a bullpen that has guys like Nicky Anderson, Diego Castillo, Jose Alvarado. They have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. That's why I'm a real big buyer on this team. Don't think they're best team in the division, but I do think this team is going to contend for a World Series spot. I do like this team a lot. Alright, going to the New York Yankees. Yankees, pretty easily S tier, I think. Really, like, the lineup top to bottom is absolutely stacked. Every position they've got that can hit. You're not counting on it, but you'd really like a bounce or a second season at this MVP caliber form, DJ LeMahieu. You're looking for a bounce back season for Miguel Andujar, who was out for almost all of last season with an injury. But even if those guys don't give you the return you're hoping for, it's still a stacked lineup, right? You got Aaron Judge, you got Giancarlo Stanton, you got Gary Sanchez. Lose Didi Gregorius, but you get to insert Larry Torres at short there. Pretty seamless transition for them on that. Guy like Gio Urshela can come back. Mike Tauchman, guys that really filled in the order last season. Looking to come back and kind of show that they can be consistent starters in the future. It's a deep team. They have a good bench. The team's ceiling is so high. This is an easy 100-win team in a full season. I think the Yankees are pretty clear the best team in that division on paper. Again, 60-game season, so anything could happen. I could easily see them losing the division to the Rays, but they're easily, on paper, the best team in that division. And you look at that pitching staff. James Paxton, he's ready for the opening of the season. Signed Garrett Cole, obviously, biggest pickup of the offseason, probably. Get that top-of-the-line rotation arm. It is a good rotation. I actually don't think it's a great rotation, but it is good. It'll definitely get the job done for that order it's going to mash. They'll give you runs, and then they have probably the best bullpen in baseball. Adam Ottavino, Zach Britton, Rollins Chapman at the back end of there. It is probably the best, at least back end of the bullpen in baseball. And you have guys like Chad Green in there that can give you innings as well. So, big believer in the Yankees. They are one of the best teams in baseball for sure. Moving on here to the Boston Red Sox. This is tough. I'm kind of between B and C. I'm going to put them at the top of C for now. Considering that I believe Eduardo Rodriguez is out with COVID. Chris Sale has Tommy John. Who else? They had somebody else opted out just recently. I think it was Colin McHugh, who's going to be in their opening day rotation. Just opted out for the season. That pitching staff is absolutely raised. The lineup, good lineup. Lose Mookie Betts, obviously, but still a solid lineup. You have Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts in there, kind of anchoring the middle of that order. Other guys like Jackie Bradley Jr., See Mitch Moreland, I guess, is in that lineup as well. Andrew Benintendi, kind of more role player type guys, but they fill out a good lineup. They'll score runs for sure, but I really just do not have any faith in that rotation. Nathan Eovaldi is their opening day starter, so he's going to be the best pitcher in that rotation on opening day. Eduardo Rodriguez will be back at some point. He's the ace of that staff without Chris Sale in it. But yeah, this season is not. This is a season for Red Sox fans to look forward to. They're with Chris Sale injured, Mookie Betts out of the picture. you're really looking forward. You're looking to build off the season, see who can kind of come out as more consistent producers. But this is not the season for the Red Sox to emerge as kind of a World Series contender. I don't think. Again, 60-game season. I could easily see them as a wild card contender type team in this kind of. They could have like a fluke great season, absolutely. But I do not see them as one of the better teams in baseball. I'm putting them in the bottom half of the teams, I think. Move to the Baltimore Orioles. Pretty easy F tier, I think. I mean, they just don't have anything to be excited about on that team, right? Like, even a guy like John Means, who, he put up a solid season last year. I think he's injured right now. He's not ready for opening day. You have a couple of guys in the lineup, Cedric Mullins, Richie Martin, who you're kind of looking forward to the future. I don't think Adley Rutschman is going to be playing this season. They want to keep that service time clock prolonged, so they wanted to. They're probably not going to get too many reps this season, so I don't think they have any top prospects coming up this season. It's just, quintessential rebuild season for the Orioles. They're definitely like a bottom 2, bottom 3 team in baseball. We move to the Toronto Blue Jays now. I'm kind of between D tier and C tier. For now, I'm going to put them at the bottom end of C tier, I think. With the Jays, you have a team with a lot of young, exciting players, especially in the lineup. Vlad Jr., Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, Lourdes Gurriel, Teoscar Hernandez. Guys that in the future are going to be producers, but they just might not be ready this season. And they're not going to be a terrible team. They're not going to be tanking. They're not going to be throwing every game, right? But I just don't think, even with that young, promising lineup, they don't have the established players to really make a run into the season. And again, everything in this video is going to come with the caveat that in 60 games, anything can happen, right? The Blue Jays could easily go and have a really great 20-game stretch, and that immediately puts them in the playoff picture. But I just don't see them as one of the better teams in the league. They're a big, dark horse type pick. They added Hyun-Jin Ryu, big pickup. I like it a lot. Then I think Nate Pearson is going to be in the rotation this season. I'm not entirely sure. He might not be in the opening day rotation, but he will pitch for the Blue Jays at some point. That could be the X factor. They need to really push them over that edge. But yeah, the pitching staff's a big question mark past Hyun-Jin Ryu. I'm just not feeling it for the Blue Jays this season. Again, very promising team, especially on offense, but I just don't see the pitching. They move on to the Cleveland Indians. Cleveland's going to get dropped in B tier here for now. Cleveland is the type of team where every year they kind of seem to bleed important players, right? They lost Corey Kluber this offseason. Pretty big loss. Kind of the face of that franchise for a while. Didn't re-sign Yasiel Puig. They lost Jason Kipnis. The lineup really is not great outside of a very solid middle of the order with Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor, Carlos Santana, and Franmil Reyes. So the top middle of the order is going to be pretty decent. But outside of that, you have guys like Cesar Hernandez filling in at second base. He feels like a real stopgap type player. The outfield's a big question mark. They traded for Delano DeShields, so they'll have him. They'll have Tyler Naquin in there, who had a good season last year. But a pretty big question mark in the outfield. The offense is not looking super promising to me, but the big saving grace of this team is a starting pitching staff. Mike Clevenger and Shane Bieber make up a great 1-2 punch at the top of that rotation. Carlos Carrasco is looking to have a comeback season as well. He'll probably be pretty solid. And the Indians are a type of organization that kind of just pumps out solid, quality starting pitchers. So guys like Aaron Savali, Adam Plutko, they'll kind of round out the bottom of that rotation. They'll probably be pretty decent. They'll definitely be able to get the job done. They had a good season last season as well. So saving grace is the rotation of this team. Bullpen's not bad either. Brad Hand at the back end. You guys like Adam, I forget his last name, James Whitgren, maybe. I forget his first name. He's real solid. James Karinchak's coming up through the system. Pretty hyped bullpen piece prospect. He has big strikeout numbers, so he can contribute down the stretch. I'm seeing the Indians as kind of a fringe wildcard type team. I don't see them in the playoffs at the end of the season, but I think they will be competitive for most of the season. I don't see that. The lineup is not deep enough, and one injury is going to an injury to a guy like Lindor or Ramirez is kind of just derail the whole season. So I'm not really feeling for the Indians this season, but they're a solid club. Detroit, pretty easy F tier as well. I actually put them slightly ahead of the Orioles. They made some pickups that there you go. All right, they made some pickups in the offseason. They picked up some veterans like Cameron Maben, CJ Cron, Jonathan Scope, just to make that lineup not totally awful. And I'm pretty sure they were their worst lineup in baseball last season. Matt Boyd's coming back. He was alright last season, right? They clearly see something in him. They probably had a bunch of trade suitors over the offseason, but they chose to keep him. They're kind of banking on that positive regression. I think he had the worst hard hit percentage relative to ERA in all of baseball, so they got real unlucky last season. He also gave up a ton of home runs though, so hard to get unlucky when you're giving up home runs. But, with a guy like Matt Boyd, you also have a guy like Spencer Turnbull, who had a pretty promising rookie year last year. I'm just looking to see some development. I think they are a little bit better than the Orioles, but not by a lot. They definitely won't be competing for anything this season. Move on to the White Sox now. I'm going to put the White Sox at the top of C tier ahead of the Red Sox. With the White Sox, what you see is a team kind of similar to the Blue Jays to a certain extent, but a little bit further along, maybe like 1 year past the Blue Jays in development, where you have the pieces and you've made the signings in the offseason that'll kind of round out this order. So you're supporting the young talent like Yoan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez, Lucas Giolito. You're supporting that with the free agent pickups and a guy like Yasmani Grandal. Edwin Encarnacion. It is a good lineup top to bottom. I think top to bottom they do have guys that, are above average hitters, right? And just off the top of my head, it's Encarnacion DHing. You have Grandal behind the plate. Abreu at first. Moncada at third, Anderson at short. Second baseman slipping my mind right now. But, in the outfield as well, you have Jimenez. You have, who's in center? I don't know offhand who's in center. Then in the right, they picked up somebody. I'm sorry, I should have looked at the roster before I did this. But the Sox do have a good lineup top to bottom. Rotation's a little bit more iffy. But Lucas Giolito at the top of that is going to be a big piece. I am expecting him to be a Cy Young contender for, the coming few years. So I think that'll be the most important piece to top the rotation. They picked up Dallas Keuchel as well. So, it'll be a solid team. They'll compete. I just don't quite see them on the level of the B tier teams. They're right behind the Indians, I think. I have the Indians at the bottom end of B tier and the Sox at the top end of C tier. So they'll definitely compete, but I just don't quite see them in that caliber teams that's, they're going to need a little bit of luck and a good stretch in the shortened season, I think, to really put them over the edge this year. All right, moving on to the Twins. Putting the Twins in A tier a little bit ahead of the Rays. I am a believer in the Twins. I think the Josh Donaldson pickup is absolutely great, especially if they're like the win now mode that they're in. They're taking advantage of their window. I can definitely appreciate that. Rotation, though, just leaves a couple question marks. It's a good rotation, but I don't know if it's a competitive rotation, especially in a long playoff series, right? You have Barrios and Odorizzi at the top, who Barrios was really solid through the last season, fell off a little bit, I think. Odorizzi had a solid season as well, but he's not really an ace guy, so he's not going to wow you. I would have liked to see them pick up starting pitching this season, or in the offseason rather. But I like the Donaldson pickup. They're really just committing to this all-in, we're just going to score a bunch of runs, beat it strategy, right? It is a loaded lineup, absolutely. Like, top to bottom, they'll hit. Top to bottom, almost everybody has, 30 homer potential, except for Luis Arias, who will probably hit 300. So, it is a very stacked lineup. It's not quite feeling the rotation. Bullpen solid as well. You guys like Taylor Rogers at the back end that'll close it out for you. Decent middle bullpen guys like Trevor May. It's a fine bullpen. It's a fine rotation. This team is all about this lineup, and if the lineup can deliver, I think they'll probably be a good team in the regular season. I see them winning the division. But it's hard to win playoff series without pitching is the issue, and I just don't really have faith in the pitching to beat a team like the Yankees or Astros in a playoff series. So that's why they're out of S tier right now, but they're definitely in the upper echelon of AL teams for sure. Move on to Kansas City. Kansas City, probably a D tier team. F tier rather, but I'm going to put them in D tier for now, near the bottom end of D tier. It's not the worst lineup I've ever seen in my life, right? You've had Alberto Mondesi and Whit Merrifield at the top of the order. They'll set the table. Merrifield will hit for average, get on base, he'll steal bases. Mondesi, he won't. He'll steal bases, though. He plays good defense at short. Nicky Lopez is another piece that could slot on the top of that order as well. Good speed, good defense. Could hit for some contact. Then you have, Hunter Dozier, middle of the order. It's not a good lineup, but it's not a lineup without any benefit. It's not a lineup without any upside. They'll score some runs. They won't be great, but in fact, they probably won't be good, but they won't be just abysmal or terrible either. The rotation's kind of similar in the sense that you have a guy like Brad Keller in there. It's a season to look to the future if you're a Royals fan, but I don't think they'll be as bad as the F tier teams. So I'm going to put them in D for now. They could end up in F by the end of the video, I'm not going to lie, but I don't think they're the worst of the worst. Alright. Houston Astros. Put them in S tier right now, behind the Yankees. I mean, say what you will about them cheating or whatever, but, on paper, assuming their player stats aren't horribly inflated by cheating, they have one of the best lineups in baseball. even the rotation, they lose a guy like Garrett Cole, who was the best pitcher in that rotation last season. Even though Verlander won the Cy Young, I think he was the best pitcher in that rotation last season. But it is still great, right? At the top, you have Zach Greinke, Justin Verlander, who, sure, maybe they're old, but they'll definitely, last season they were both Cy Young contenders. They'll absolutely get the job done in a playoff series. You have Lance McCullers coming up behind him, who's fresh off Tommy John surgery, but he looked great before Tommy John surgery. He'll be one of the best number 3 starters in baseball. It is a really good rotation, at least at the top. Some question marks at the bottom. You'll probably have guys like Framber Valdez, Jose Urquidy kind of filling it out. A little bit of question marks there, but the top 3 in that rotation are going to be very solid. And the lineup is still great. They didn't really lose any pieces in that order, that took them to the World Series last year, took them to Game 7 of the World Series last year. So, they're the best team in the division for sure. They'll absolutely compete for a pennant. They'll compete for World Series. I don't think the fallout from the cheating scandal is going to impact them and it's going to impact them a ton. There's no fans in the stands. It's been a while since the scandal came out. People are probably getting tired of it. The news cycle's kind of passed it by. I don't think the scandal's going to play a huge role in it. I think they are an S-tier team for sure. I see them as the second best team. They are right behind the Yankees. I think Yankees are a little bit more complete of a team on paper, but the Astros are right up there with them, I think. Now, we move on to the Anaheim Angels. This is a tough one. I'm going to put them in C tier right behind the White Sox, I think. The White Sox might be a B tier team, actually, but I should probably go through. I'll rearrange it after I'm done ranking everybody, I think. With the Angels, it's a case of a team where if they can get league average pitching out of the guys that you're expecting to give them league average pitching, a guy like Julio Teheran or Dylan Bundy, guys that really are just there to give them innings, if you can get league average production out of them, this is a playoff caliber team. But it's just tough because you have guys in the rotation like Teheran, Bundy, Griffin Canning, who was about league average last season, be hoping for a little bit better, Andrew Heaney. If you can, out of those 4 guys, each get league average production from them, this is a very, very good, dangerous team. The lineup is pretty crazy. Any lineup with Mike Trout is going to be crazy, but you got Anthony Rendon to that, who is, a top 10 player in baseball. You have Shohei Ohtani, who's going to be ready this season, at least to hit. I think he will pitch this season. I'm not sure he's going to be ready to pitch opening day, but I think he is going to be pitching this season. The lineup has the pieces to be a competitive lineup, but the pitching just isn't quite there for them. I really don't see it working out for the Angels this season. I just don't think they have the pitching, at least starting pitching. You're really banking on guys like Heaney to kind of emerge as an all-star type player, or a guy like Canning to kind of emerge as, a above league average starter. And if that doesn't happen, and you're just getting production from Heaney and Canning and bad production from Bundy and Teheran, and Ohtani might not be quite ready to pitch, the staff isn't quite there, I don't think, for them to really be competitive this season. Again, the Angels are another type of team with the White Sox where they could just get hot for, a few weeks and that'll catapult them right in the playoff race. So anything's possible in a 2-month season. But I don't quite see the Angels on the same level as a team like the White Sox. Rather, as a team like the Rays, like the Twins, that are really competing for that division title. And they're definitely not as good as the Astros, obviously. Alright, move on to the Rangers now. Okay, before we do that, I'm putting the Royals in F tier, actually. I changed that mind, because I think the Rangers are much more of a D tier team than the Royals. I might end up with the Blue Jays in D tier, actually, too. Yeah, I actually like that a lot better. Okay, that looks better to me. With the Rangers, it's a team where they played above their true talent level for a lot of last season. But that doesn't change the fact their pitching staff is actually quite solid. At the top of it, you have Lance Lynn and Mike Minor, who both put up great seasons last year, and they didn't really show any signs of regression, right? They didn't show any of the telltale signs that they're going to regress to the mean this year. They have sustainable success, and I think they'll be pretty decent next year as well, or rather this season. You had Corey Kluber to that. The Corey Kluber trade looks great for the Rangers. I don't think the Rangers are a competitive team, but by rounding out the rotation with 3 very solid veterans, I think they'll at least be, hover around 500. I think it speaks to how good most of the teams are this season and how, I won't say stacked, because they're not stacked, but how very solid. there's not a lot of teams that are just flat out tanking right now, actually, other than, especially in the NL, but other than these three teams in the AL, basically every team is going to be at least trying for 500, maybe with the exception of the Mariners. But a team like the Rangers, where in past seasons they would have been maybe even competing for wild card spot like they were for a lot of last season, is not really even in the discussion. It's kind of crazy. Like, there's a lot of good talent in the AL in these top 10 set of teams, and there's going to be a lot of competition, especially for that second wild card spot. I don't think the Rangers are quite there. The lineup really is not that great outside of guys like Joey Gallo, kind of just patchwork together from a bunch of veterans. But the rotation could, again, a few hot weeks with that rotation, they could definitely make a run at a wild card spot. But I'm not really seeing it for the Rangers this season. Moving on to the Mariners. Mariners are going to be bottom of D tier as well. They may be a little bit above the Royals, but it's pretty close. The Mariners are not going to be competitive this season. It's just, they don't have the pieces, right? The rotation, you have a guy like Marco Gonzalez who will be decent. Yusei Kikuchi will probably be decent. I don't know which of their top prospects is actually going to be playing this season. A guy like Kyle Lewis, if he'll be playing. It depends. If I were the Mariners, I'd probably just keep them down this season. Just, keep that service time clock waiting to start. They won't be good this season, even if they use their top prospects. You're just kind of looking for some development from the younger guys. A guy like Shed Long, maybe. Or if they're bringing up a guy like Kyle Lewis, you want some development from him. Or a guy like Jared Kalanick, you want some development from him. They won't be competitive this season, and they're pretty clearly the worst team in that division. They're not super far behind the Rangers, but I don't know, there's a pretty big gap between the Rangers. I'm actually put the Mariners in F tier. That's tough, right? I'll put them in D tier for now, but I might move them to F tier at a later date. The Mariners are not going to be great this season. I expect them to be the worst team in that division, and I don't think it'll be super close. All right. Moving on to the A's. The A's are going in B tier right behind the Indians. I like the A's lineup a lot. There's just a little bit too many question marks in the pitching, where you're kind of banking on guys like AJ Puck and Jesus Luzardo to really emerge this season and kind of catapult that rotation into top flight quality. And AJ Puck's already injured. I don't know if he's even going to be playing this season. So you're really banking on a guy like Luzardo to kind of show his worth. You're banking on a guy like Montes, who's coming back from the PED suspension, to prove that it wasn't just PEDs or kind of a fluke, that he was really good for the first half of last season. You're banking on a guy like Mike Fiers to kind of come back and have another decent season. Just a couple too many question marks in that pitching. I don't think they have that bona fide. A guy like Sean Manaea as well, who was really good after he came back from injury last season, but pretty small sample size. They don't have that just ace, that guy that you can turn to. All of these teams, maybe with the exception of the Twins actually, but all of these teams in the top of the AL have that guy. You have Garrett Cole, you have Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke, you have Barrios and Odorizzi, who are kind of not quite at that level, but they are pretty solid. With the Rays, you have Snell and you have Charlie Morton. With the Indians, you have Shane Bieber, you have Mike Clevenger. The A's don't really have that guy at the top of the rotation that really instills confidence in me. It is a good rotation, 1 through 5. It's balanced. They don't have any bad pitchers in it. It's just they don't have that one guy that really wows me, that can take the mound in a big game and you really trust him to put the ball in his hand. The lineup though, pretty solid. You've got the Matt Olson and Matt Chapman, who are going to be very good this season. I fully expect Matt Olson to kind of blossom into an MVP type player at some point in his career, if not soon. Ramon Laureano is another great piece, kind of an all-star caliber type player. Mark Canha kind of quietly had an all-star type season last year. Nobody's really talking about it, but he had a great season last year. I expect him to carry it over into this season. Maybe a bounce back from Chris Davis. That'd be cool to see. But yeah, it's a good lineup. You've got Sean Murphy as well, who in his rookie season last year was pretty decent. His defense is so great, you barely need him to hit, but he can hit, and if he does hit, then he's going to be a top flight catcher in baseball. It is a good lineup. It's a good rotation. It's not a great rotation. They don't have that one ace that really makes me... If they had that one ace, I'd put them in A tier, but I think they're a little bit behind the Twins and the Rays right now as it stands. Alright, that's my ranking for the AL. Definitely subject to change by the end of the video, but that's what we're looking at right now. Alright, moving on to the Nationals now. Defending champion Washington Nationals. I'm going to be honest. I'm not really feeling it for the Nationals this season. I don't think their lineup... by not really feeling, I'm thinking they're not the best team in that division. but they are definitely going to compete for wild card spot. They're a good team. They're really just not a great team. I don't think they really, especially the lineup, really stands up to, the top flight teams in the National League. It's going to be hard for the Nationals because they have that great rotation. Strasburg, Scherzer, Corbin, followed up with Anibal Sanchez, and whoever they have in the fifth spot, Austin Voth, whoever they choose in that fifth spot. It is a very, very good rotation, and a top three like that can carry you, especially in a shortened season where you maybe are, pushing your fifth starter out, moving to a swingman role if you have rest days. You're really pushing this. You're going to be pushing this rotation to the limit here. You're probably going to see a lot of guys, maybe not starting on short rest, but you're going to see guys. A guy like Scherzer and Strasburg are not going to be taking more than 4 days off very often, I don't think, even with rest days kind of built in. So we'll see them skip their fifth starter a lot. They're going to be relying on the top of that rotation to kind of carry them through the season, I think. The core of the lineup with Turner, Soto, Eaton, it's a good core. Losing Rendon really hurts it, though. And losing that big middle of the order bat, they didn't really replace. They brought in, Eric Thames, but he's not going to be that great. With the core of, Turner, Soto, Eaton, and maybe, Howie Kendrick to an extent, it's a good core, but it's just not a super deep lineup. You're banking on guys like Starlin Castro and Young Gomes to really put it together at the plate, and I'm just not really believing in them. Again, it's not the worst lineup. It's definitely not bad, but I just really don't think it can stack up to the best teams in the National League. With that being said, that rotation is definitely going to be very solid for them. I'm putting them solidly in B tier right now, but I don't think they're really quite a top team in baseball. All right, moving on to the Phillies now. The Phillies are pretty easily in C tier. I'll put them in C tier right ahead of the Angels. Phillies lineup, pretty solid. Andrew McCutchen, I believe, is ready to start the season, so that'll be exciting for the Phillies. With McCutchen at the top of the order, it is a good lineup, right? You have McCutchen, Harper in the outfield, Real Muto behind the plate, Hoskins at first. It's a good lineup, but it's really not. There's conspicuous holes in the order, especially at second and third. Center field as well. I like the addition of Didi Gregorius. He'll be another top of the order bat, but he's kind of a platoon type bat. He doesn't hit lefties super well. You have guys like Scott Kingery and Adam Hazley who are sort of question marks. They looked really good at points last season and looked kind of bad at other points. If they can put together in the shortened season, they have a good lineup top to bottom, but if they can't, I think there's too many holes I think, to make them a top lineup, and the pitching staff is just too much of a question mark. You have Nola and Wheeler at the top. I like the pickup of Wheeler, especially for this next few seasons, but there's just too many question marks beyond Nola and Wheeler to make me think that they can compete over the course of the regular season. And there's too many question marks in the pitching staff, especially the bullpen doesn't look that great either. Lineup, quite good. Bullpen, rotations kind of especially in the loaded NL East. They have to play against the AL East too. It's going to be really tough for the Phillies to compete this season. They're going to need a really hot stretch from a guy like Harper, a guy like Hoskins to really go off for a little bit. That's going to have to carry them, I think. I don't see the Phillies as a top team. I don't really even see them as a contending team, to be honest. I think they're pretty solidly in C tier. Alright, here we go. On to the Atlanta Braves. I'm going to go with the Braves in A tier, kind of near the bottom end of A tier. The Braves, I think, on paper, are the best team in that division. Actually, that's a lie. The Braves, on paper, are a very good team. I'm liking the rotation a lot, actually. The young core of Soroka and Fried at the top of that rotation is going to be very good for a few years. And you supplement it with Fultonevich, Newcomb, other guys that'll get the job done. They're not going to be great, but they'll get the job done. And behind those two young guys at the top of the rotation, I'm really feeling the Braves. At least I'm feeling Soroka and Fried, right? I think that's going to be the big factor of whether they're going to be good or great is whether Soroka and Fried can replicate their success last season and build upon it, especially a guy like Fried. The lineup will hit. Again, it's kind of similar to the Nats lineup in the sense that the core is very good. The core is better than the Nats lineup with Acuna, Albies, Freeman. They added Marcell Ozuna. The core is even better than the Nats lineup, but it's just not super deep. Again, they run into the issue the same as the Nats where they have holes in the order. Kind of a hole at third base with Johan Camargo. He's kind of a question mark. Or Austin Riley. He's kind of a question mark as well. Two guys that have looked really good in the past, but also looked really lost in the past. Center field, wherever Acuna isn't playing, is kind of a hole with a guy like Ender Inciarte looking to fill in, who's kind of a question mark as well. He didn't look super great last season, but another guy that looked good in the past. Adam Duvall, another guy in that category. Nick Markakis sitting the season out. Nick Markakis is never great, but he's also pretty reliable, so it's something that I think the Braves are going to be missing this season. There's just a lot of question marks in the order. If the question marks are put together, then the Braves have one of the best teams in the National League. They have one of the best teams in the National League already, but if they get the question marks in the lineup can put together, they have a World Series contending team. Again, there's just some question marks in the order that kind of concern me. The bullpen's pretty decent. It's not great. I like the addition of Will Smith, but the bullpen will get the job done with Will Smith, Marco Lanson at the back end. I think the Braves are good. Dare I say, I think they're very good, but I don't think they're quite in the upper echelon. They're definitely not S tier. I don't think they quite compare to the Twins either. They're pretty comparable to the Rays, I would say. Yeah, they're an A tier team. I think they will end up winning that division, but it's going to be tight for sure. This NL East is going to be an absolute bloodbath this year. Move on to Miami now. Miami, kind of similar to the Mariners, we're debating between D tier and F tier, but does it really matter? The Marlins are going to be bad. The Mariners are going to be bad. The Royals are going to be bad. I don't think it really matters what tier I put them. I don't put them in D tier for now, actually. Again, the Marlins have some exciting pieces, especially in the rotation. Guys like Sandy Alcantara, Jordan Yamamoto, Caleb Smith. Guys that, they could put it together. They could be, solid major league caliber starting pitchers. And in fact, some of them were. I think Caleb Smith was pretty decent last season. But the lineup is just not going to get the job done. They added some veterans. They added Jesus Aguilar. They added Jonathan Villar. The lineup is not going to get the job done, though. It's not a competitive lineup. Especially, the poor Marlins are going to have, the hardest schedule in baseball. They have to play against all 4 teams in the National League East. They're going to be competing. They have to play against the Yankees. They have to play against the Rays. They have to play against the Red Sox. The Marlins are not going to get the job. If they were in, a real cupcake division, the Marlins in the AL Central, they wouldn't compete, but they wouldn't be, abysmal. But in the conditions they're in right now, the Marlins are not going to be competitive this season. But I think there's a lot of upside in the future for the Marlins. They have a great farm system. They've got a few young upcoming players this season that you can look forward to seeing, mostly on the pitching staff. So the Marlins' future is bright, but this is not the season, and it's going to be a couple more seasons before the future is really kind of coming into focus. Moving on to the Mets now. So, the issue I have with the Mets is that they're the Mets. I actually think on paper they have the best roster in the division, but they're the Mets, and you already see it happening, right? Noah Syndergaard out for the season. I'm going to put them in B tier slightly ahead of the Nationals, actually. The lineup is so good. I love the Mets lineup. Top to bottom, they hit. You see, I'm saying a lot. There's a lot of teams where it's true, but top to bottom, the Mets lineup is going to hit. And that's the distinction I think they have with the Braves and the Nationals, is that they have players at every position in that order that you can count on to give you at least some production. And some of them won't be great. Some of them, a guy like Brandon Nimmo in center, he won't be great, but he'll get the job done. And he's an established player, as opposed to guys on the Braves or on the Nationals where you're kind of either counting for bounce backs from veterans or for younger players to kind of emerge. You have guys at these positions like for the Mets, like Nimmo, like Conforto, who maybe aren't great, but they're good, and they're established that they're good. And I think that's going to be important in the short season. The issue I have with the Mets is that without Syndergaard, the rotation is good, not great. It goes from one of the best rotations in baseball to more of a good rotation. Stroman kind of slots into the second starter, and you have behind Jacob deGrom, who's going to contend for another Cy Young award. You have guys like Stroman, you have guys like Rick Porcello, Michael Wacha. It's going to be a fine rotation. It goes from being great with Syndergaard to being kind of, it's okay. And they lost Wheeler over the offseason as well. And then back into that bullpen, big question marks, Edwin Diaz and Uris Familia. I like the addition of Dylan Betances, especially on that no-risk one-year deal. But Familia, Diaz, they've put it together in the past, but they were both pretty awful last season. I think if Diaz can kind of emerge as, a top-of-the-line closer like he has been in the past, the Mets are in really good shape, actually, this season. But I'm sure the Mets are going to do something to Mets it up, to be honest. I like the Mets. I think they have a very well-constructed roster, but something's going to happen. Mark my words, something will happen to make them the Mets. All right, move on to the Cardinals now. I think I'm actually a lot lower on the Cardinals than a lot of other people are. I think they're a B tier team. I might even put them way back here, to be honest. They might even be C tier, to be honest. The Cardinals are tough because I have to rank them in relative two of the other three good teams in the Central. Okay, I'm going to be a cheater and actually push back the Cardinals. We'll start with the Pirates. Pretty clearly the worst team in that division. They will not be competitive. I'm putting them in a D tier. Maybe right in front of the Marlins. They have some pitching. They have Trevor Williams. They have Chris Archer. Is Tyone? I think Tyone's injured this season. I'm not sure. You never really can be sure. But if Tyone's healthy, then he'll be solid as well in that rotation. Bullpen's fine as well. They have pieces in the order. They have Josh Bell. They have Adam Frazier. They have Kevin Newman. Brian Reynolds. They have like a decent young core. Just they don't have the pieces to supplement it, though. The Pirates will not be competitive this season. So these four teams in the Central, the Reds, the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Cardinals, they're all very similar in the sense that they're all going to be a little bit above 500, and they're all going to be like within a few games of each other by the end of the season, I'm pretty sure. It's going to be a bloodbath in that division. Both the East and the Central are going to be crazy. I'm trying to think which of these four teams I really see coming out on top of that division. It's not the Brewers. I do not think the Brewers are one of the better teams in this division. And in fact, I really don't think the Brewers are that great at all. I'm putting them in C tier, actually behind the Phillies. I think the Brewers are not that great. The issue I have with the Brewers is that they had a ton of roster turnover from last season, and a lot of the pieces that you're really looking at from a couple of seasons ago, guys like Travis Shaw, guys like Jesus Aguilar just haven't panned out, and they end up trading them away. And there's just a lot of question marks in that order. Obviously, Christian Yelich is going to give you MVP-type production. A guy like Keston Hiura will be great in that lineup. Ryan Braun will probably be fine. Omar Narvaez will probably be fine. But there's just too many question marks in the order where I just don't have a ton of faith in them to really have a consistent offense. And you combine that with the fact that they don't have, outside of Brandon Woodruff, they don't have another guy. Like, they have... Woodruff is like, he's a good 2, he's a fine 1. But you really want another good starting pitcher to supplement him with, and the Brewers don't really have that, right? Like, they just have... Overall, it's a lineup where... The Brewers are a team where they really could come out of nowhere and surprise you. I mean, they've made the playoffs 2 years in a row. They probably could have made the playoffs 3 years ago. They really could surprise you, but I think this is the worst Brewers team we've seen in kind of this, line of the last few Brewers teams that have been above 500. I think this is the worst one we've seen since 2017, actually. I'm not really feeling the Brewers this season. They have Josh Hader at the back of that bullpen, which, anything can happen if you're throwing him. If you're treating this season like it's just a 60-game sprint, and you have Josh Hader who will appear in maybe like 35, 40 games, then anything can happen. He can lock down a couple innings for you every single game. That's like a huge asset to have in a close pennant race. But I don't think, just between the question marks in the lineup and the question marks in the rotation, I just don't see the Brewers being as competitive as these three teams, the Reds, the Cubs, and the Cardinals. So I'm putting them a little bit below these three. All right, we can talk now about the Reds, who... It's hard because they're less proven, right? They don't have... this Reds roster doesn't have the same track record as the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Brewers, who have competed for playoff spots the last few seasons. But I actually think that, on paper, the Reds are the best team in that division. I'm going to put them in B tier. Yeah, we'll put them in B tier here for now. With the Reds, you get a lineup where they added so much upside to it. With Castellanos, with Moustakas. That's two very solid middle-of-the-order bats. Two, big RBI guys that supplement Suarez, it supplements Votto, it supplements Winker. That lineup is really, really good. And they add Akiyama as well. I don't know if he's playing center or left, but, he's a question mark, obviously. You don't know how well he's going to perform coming over from Japan, but I have faith in him. I think his profile is a guy that will draw a lot of walks. He won't hit for a ton of power, but he'll hit gaps. He'll draw some walks. He'll play decent defense in the outfield. He has some speed. I think it profiles really well in the order to play at the leadoff spot. You have him and Votto with the top they'll be the table setters. They'll get on base pretty well. Moustakas, Castellanos, Winker, they'll be able to drive him in. I think the top of that order is very solid. And he's supplemented with guys like Galvis, guys like Barnhart, a guy like what's his fucking name? Jose Peraza. Actually, no, he's on the Red Sox now. I lied. And Suarez as well. I've been talking about Suarez, who hit. Did he hit 50 home runs last season? He was the NL leader in home runs last season. They'll score runs, absolutely, no question. And you looked at that rotation. It's a good rotation as well. Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Trevor Bauer is a great 1-2-3 at the top of that rotation. You have Anthony DeSclafani following that up. Who else do they have? Who's their 5 guy? Is it Wade? I think they have Wade Miley as well. So yeah, 1 through 5, it's very good rotation. I think the question marks are going to be in the bullpen. But with Raisel Iglesias, who had a pretty bad season last year, but in the past he's shown that he can put together an all-star caliber closing season. You have guys like Amir Garrett. They have pieces in the bullpen to at least be competitive. It won't be a great bullpen, but it could at least be competitive if the guys at the back end can put it together. And that lineup is great. I love the Reds lineup. Top to bottom, they'll hit. I've said that like 5 times this video, but it is true. There's a lot of teams in this, especially in the National League, where they have a very good top to bottom lineup. They have a very well constructed lineup. I think the Reds definitely are one of those teams, and I think, gun to my head, who's going to win the NL Central this season? I'm going with Cincinnati. That's maybe a hot take. Maybe it's probably not that hot of a take, but that's really what I'm feeling. All right, moving on to the Cubs and the Cardinals, who are in very similar spots, I would say. Very good cores to the lineup, but some question marks on offense. With the Cubs, I think their offense is a little bit better, but their pitching is a good amount worse. I'm going to put the Cubs in B tier as well. The pitching staff on the Cubs hinges a lot on whether you can get good production out of John Lester, out of these veterans like Lester, like Quintana. But Hendricks and Darvish will probably give you decent production at the top. It's just the bullpen's a question mark, right? Kimbrel Kimbrel's going to be closing, and he was not good in limited closing roles last season, which is understandable, right? Like, he took the first few months off from the season. It's understandable, but you really need him to put in that production now. Like, now it's going to matter. You're in the middle of a pennant race on opening day, which is, like, that's a tough position to be in, especially as a closer. He doesn't have time to, like, get into a rhythm. He's got to be good now. The Cubs bullpen is not looking that great right now. They have the core. Right, it's still the core that won the World Series. They have Rizzo, they have Bryant, they have Baez, they have Contreras. Again, the core of the lineup is great. It's just, and you have like Schwarber as well. It's just you have holes in the order. You have guys like Almora that are going to be playing in center. Who's going to be playing second? Is it a guy like Bodie or Jason Kipnis? Like it's not super exciting. There's holes in the order. There's holes in the bullpen. The rotation's a big question mark. All that's, of course, not to say that I think the Cubs are a bad team. I think they are going to be competitive for sure. I think you're going to need... Here's what I'm saying. I think you're going to need a 2018 MVP type season from Javi Baez this season. If he can put together 2019's defense plus 2018's offense and be an MVP type player, I think the Cubs are going to be competitive this season. But if either him or Chris Bryant can't do it, they can't be that MVP guy, I think the Cubs are going to struggle this season. That's how I'm evaluating the season for the Cubs. I think 3 guys to look out for are going to be Bryant and Baez, and then Craig Kimbrel as well. If any of those 3 guys are slow to start or they can't really put together this season, the Cubs are going to have a lot of trouble. It's a team reliant on the stars. Kind of in contrast to it as the Cardinals, who are not super reliant on their stars. They have a very well dispersed team, kind of in the same vein as Tampa Bay. But on the whole, they have a lot less upside than the Cubs. I think they're a safer team than the Cubs. I'm a little bit ahead of Chicago, actually. With the Cardinals, it's a lineup where they have guys top to bottom that'll be decent, but on the whole, like you zoom out and you look at the whole lineup, even though you have guys at every position that could produce, it's not super exciting, right? Maybe if you go back to, Paul Goldschmidt from a couple of years ago, that'll really excite you, but Paul Goldschmidt last year was just okay. You lose Marcell Ozuna. You have guys like Colton Wong, Tommy Edman, Paul DeJong, who they'll get the job done, but they're not going to be super exciting about it, and they're more defensive-oriented players. The offense, I think, is going to be not that great. Of the Reds, the Cardinals, and the Cubs, I think the Cardinals pretty easily have the worst offense, but the pitching staff is going to be pretty solid. Jack Flaherty at the top, obviously very exciting. He was the best pitcher in baseball the second half last season. Dakota Hudson had an exciting year last year. Dakota Hudson's kind of a strange pitcher in the sense that basically his entire game plan is based on inducing ground balls, and if he's not getting that good ground ball luck, he's going to be really, really bad because he walks a ton of guys and doesn't strike a ton of guys out. But the Cardinals have a really good defense behind him, so I think it'll be okay. The Cardinals really bank on a bounce back from a guy like Matt Carpenter. They want another anchor in that order that they can really rely on. And a guy like, if Matt Carpenter can turn back the clock a couple of years, that'll really be a boon to that offense. I think this is what I'm feeling for the Central this year. Reds, Cardinals, Cubs really tight at the top of that order, at the top of the standings in that order, with the Brewers a little bit behind them and the Pirates way behind them. That's kind of what I'm feeling in the Central this season. I think all three of these teams are close enough where I can justify putting them all in B tier. Yeah, I think this is what I'm feeling. All right. Moving on to the last division here, NL West, Colorado Rockies. Putting the Rockies in D tier. Where in D tier? Put them behind the Rangers for sure, I think. Yeah, I think I'll do it like this. Yeah, okay, I like that. The Rockies are not that great, and it just stems from they don't have the consistent pitching, right? You have Germán Marquez who will get the job done. But Kyle Freeland's a question mark. You have other guys, like, who else do they have, like, Antonio Senzatella. Like, they're just banking, Peter Lambert, I guess, as well. It's just, they don't have a consistent rotation arm outside of Germán Marquez to really compete in the division. And it's going to be a tight division. Maybe not tight, but there's good teams in the division. The lineup will be solid, you know. Arenado, Story, Blackman at the top of... Arenado, Story, and Blackman at the top of any order is going to be exciting. They'll score runs in Coors, but I just really don't think they have the pitching to compete at all. Dare I say, I think they're actually a little bit worse than the Pirates. Okay. I don't think the Rockies are going to be good this season. I think they actually might be the worst team in the division. We want to San Francisco now. I think San Francisco's another D-tier team, but I actually do think they're a little bit... San Francisco is, I think, in the middle of more of a rebuild right now than they want to admit. The pitching staff is just not exciting. They don't have, you know... I don't even know who they're starting on opening day. And opening day is today against my favorite team, so I don't know who they're starting. They lost Madison Bumgarner, who was their guy in their rotation. And the lineup on the whole is really just not that exciting, right? Mike Yastrzemski had a good season last year. Buster Posey opted out. Brandon Belt and Brandon Crawford really on the downswing at the back end of their careers. You're banking on guys like Austin Slater or Alex Dickerson to have good seasons. And it's just, there's too many question marks on the lineup for them to compete at all. I'm going to put them right here. Yeah, that looks good to me. All right. Another D-tier team. I'm going with the Giants. All right. Let's talk about the Padres now. I think with San Diego, I'm going to put them in C-tier, but let's see. They're definitely in the mix with these teams, like the Phillies and like the Brewers. I'll put them right here for now, I think. The issue with San Diego is the youth, right? They don't have the experience. They don't have, like, this is going to be a pennant race from day one. And I don't know if they're going to have the poise, they're going to have the experience. It's just such a young team. The lineup on paper is really, really solid. In the outfield, Tommy Pham, Trent Grisham, probably Manny Margot in center. No, did Margot get traded to the Rays? He might have. Okay, maybe not him. But, you know, Pham and Grisham in the outfield is going to be pretty decent. It's probably Naylor maybe in right? I'm not sure, actually. Maybe Grisham in center. I'm actually not sure how the Padres outfield shakes up. But the outfield's pretty solid. Tatis and Machado on the left side of the infield are going to be electric, right? That's a great combination to have in the infield. They'll both play good defense. Actually, Tatis might not play good defense, but they'll both hit for sure. I think the lineup will be solid. The starting pitching is going to be really reliant on these young arms. You're really looking for a guy like Mackenzie Gore to emerge this season. Even though it's just a rookie season, you want him to emerge now. You want a guy like Chris Paddock to develop that third pitch, become, you know, a really top flight starting pitcher. I think it's just a really young team. I think they're still a year or two away, right? This season, if they get hot, anything can happen, right? But I think they're not quite in the mix for the West. I think they're going to be above 500. They're going to hover around 500, but they're not quite ready to make that jump into a playoff caliber team, I don't think. All right. Moving on to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm putting them in C tier as well, but I'm actually going to put them ahead of the Padres. I'm going to put them ahead of the Brewers as well, I think. I'm going to put them ahead of the Phillies as well. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm putting the Diamondbacks at the top of C tier. I'm a pretty big believer in the Diamondbacks this season. I think they have a really well-constructed lineup. They made the addition of Cole Calhoun and Starling Marte to really shore up that outfield. And they'll get to use the DH really well this season with guys like David Peralta. You know, you have a top five in the order of Calhoun, Marte, Peralta, Escobar, Marte. There's 2 Martes, yeah. I don't even like realize that until now. Actually, like I knew they had Starling Marte and Ketel Marte. I never put together though they had the same last name. It's kind of cool. Yes, they have Ketel Marte, Starling Marte, who both have speed. They'll both get on base well. They'll both hit for average. You get to follow it up with guys like David Peralta and Eduardo Escobar, who have that good doubles, home run power. And they have a really well constructed lineup. Christian Walker as well had a good season last year. Carson Kelly, who, if he contributes a little bit with the bat, his glove is really going to be beneficial to that pitching staff. It's a good lineup. I like it a lot. The pitching staff, a little bit more of a question mark, but it has the potential to be like a competing pitching staff, right? They add Madison Bumgarner, who, at least for a couple seasons, is going to be pretty solid. They added Zach Gallen at the deadline last season, who was really great. Who was a really good pickup. They have Robbie Ray, who, kind of a question mark. He strikes a ton of guys out, but he gives up home runs. He walks a good amount of guys. But he strikes a ton of guys out, and he showed in 2017 he has that ace caliber stuff, where if you can put together and be that guy for the Diamondbacks, then I think they have a really good shot at actually competing for a playoff spot. But, again, the pitching staff's a bit of a question mark. The bullpen, kind of a question mark as well. They don't really have that back-end shutdown bullpen guy that a playoff competing team probably needs. So you're really banking on that lineup to score a lot of runs, and somebody out of Bumgarner, Gallen, and Ray to emerge as like an ace caliber starter. I think if one of those 3 guys emerges as an ace type starter at least this season, and a guy like Yohan Lopez maybe in their bullpen comes out as a really good reliever, then the Diamondbacks could definitely compete for a playoff spot. But outside of that, they are, I think, a little bit worse than the NL Central teams and the good NL East teams. I actually do think they're a little bit better constructive team than the Phillies and the Brewers, though. So I think they'll compete, but I don't think they'll quite get there this season. Then we have the Dodgers. Oh, book just fell in my room. I mean, call me a homer, call me whatever, but I do think they're the best team in baseball. I'm going to try to sound as unbiased as possible here, but I think they have the best lineup in baseball, and I think they have one of the better rotation, like a top 5 rotation in baseball. The only real thing to be worried about is the bullpen, and if a guy like Kenley Jansen could put it all together. If he can't, then maybe the Dodgers are a little bit worse than the Yankees. The Yankees do have a better bullpen, but I think the lineup is a little bit better. I think the rotation's a little bit better. I think Kershaw's kind of primed to I say this like he was bad last season. He was still an all-star last season. I think he's kind of primed to return to vintage Kershaw actually this season, at least in the shortened season. He won't have too much of an innings load. He won't end up getting too tired. His velocities look good pretty recently in spring training and summer training. Kershaw Buehler at the top of that rotation is just nasty. I think if the Dodgers bullpen can put it together, or at least a few guys can put together, guys like Joe Kelly and Pedro Baez and maybe Bruce Dark-Ratterall could put it together and be competent bullpen arms, I think the Dodgers are the best team in baseball because their lineup is just a cheat code, right? I've said it a few times in the video, but they hit top to bottom, but they really hit top to bottom, right? Top to bottom, everybody can hit at an all-star level. Even guys that are going to be at the bottom of the order, guys like Gavin Lux, who's not going to make the opening day roster, but he'll play for the Dodgers and he'll probably be pretty solid. Guys like Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez are going to play second. Will Smith, who's going to be behind the plate. They have proven that they can hit at an all-star level, and they come behind. But they have 7. They have 7 all-stars right at the top of that order. In Betts, Muncy, Turner, Bellinger, Seager, Peterson, and Pollock. That's 7 all-stars. I think they pretty clearly have the best starting lineup in baseball, and you back it up with a really deep bench with guys like Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez, Matt Beatty, Edwin Rios. It's just they're super deep. Their rotation is really solid, even outside of their top 2 guys. You're going to have younger guys like Julio Urias, Dustin May, to kind of step up into those roles, and I think they will be really solid. Guys like Alex Wood as well, who they're kind of priming for a bounce-back type season. Losing David Price definitely hurts. But I think their rotation, it's a top 5 rotation in baseball. And top 5 might be it's a top 6 or 7 rotation in baseball without David Price. Top lineup in baseball. It's a solid bullpen. It has the potential to be really, really good. It also has the potential to be kind of bad. But you put all those together, I think they are the best team in baseball. It's mostly because of that lineup. They'll score a ton of runs, and as long as As long as the bullpen can do the job, I think they are the best team in baseball. So this is the ranking I have right now. I'm trying to think if I want to close the tiers a little bit. Maybe want to move the A's up to A tier. I could see that. Maybe want to move the Sox up to B tier, or maybe the Diamondbacks. No, I'm liking how this looks. I think. All right, we'll do season predictions now. So we'll start in the AL. I think we're gonna see Yankees winning the East, Astros winning the West, and Twins winning the Central, just like last season. And then, God, I hate to be fucking boring. I want to throw like a wrench into it, but I think the Rays are almost a lock for a wild card, at least for a playoff spot. I'd be very surprised if the Rays don't end up in the playoffs this season. The A's, I'd be a little bit less surprised, but I still would be surprised. I think you have a pretty clear top 5 teams in the American League, and it's the same top 5 teams we had last season. Kind of thinking here. Do I really want to just be that guy and have my playoff prediction be exactly the same as it was last season? Because that's not going to happen, right? There's too many variables in a 60-game season. Something's going to happen. Some team is going to emerge really as another contender. And out of the Indians and White Sox, either of them definitely capable of it. Yeah, I'll throw a wrench into it. I'll say our AL playoff picture is Yankees, Astros, Twins, and then Rays and Indians. We'll go Indians. I kind of just spent like 10 minutes shitting on the Indians. It'd be kind of hypocritical for me to put them in the playoffs, huh? I don't think the Sox are ready though. I don't think the Indians are the lineup. Yeah, we'll just be boring about it. We'll say Yankees, Astros, Twins, Rays, A's, which I don't think is going to happen, but I think that is the most likely course of action, I guess, for the AL playoff picture. Then NL playoff picture, I think we'll go Dodgers, Braves to win their division, and then in the Central, I'm going Reds. We'll go Dodgers, Braves, Reds. And then in the wild card, I'm gonna go Mets, Nats. I think that's how it's gonna shake out in the Central, or in the East rather, where you have 3 playoff teams from the East. Yeah. So those are our 10 playoff teams. Then is Dodgers, Yankees, Astros, Twins, Rays, Braves, A's, Mets, Nats, and the Reds. That'll do it. I think. If you watched this far, thank you for watching. I want to make more videos. I like making videos. I'm just fucking lazy, and I'm also in college, so it's kind of hard. But yeah, hopefully we'll have some more videos out. I don't know. Have a good one, everybody.